Good morning, students. In our last class, we have discussed about the structure of the spinal cord, where the structure of the spinal cord, where the medulla oblongata is joined to form into spinal cord into the vertebral column. So, such region is called as a foramina of magnum of cranium, where it joins the medulla oblongata joins into the spinal cord and enters into the vertebral column up to the from the base of the vertebral column to the second lumbar region it is presenting. And also when transverse section is taken place, here having a butterfly shape or an H shaped structure is presenting, where here the spinal cord is also covered by three coverings. How the brain is covered by three coverings, here the spinal cord is also covered by three coverings such as the meninges, second one is the cerebrospinal fluid, and the third one is the gray as well as the white matter. So, in a spinal cord the gray matter will occupies inner region and the white matter will occupies outer surface. That means outer surface, outer it is occupied by the white matter, and inner surface area is covered by the a gray matter, where you will having the four horns are presenting. Two are called as posterior dorsal horns and the ventral anterior ventral horns are presenting, where this in the center will having a central canal is presenting, where it consists of a cerebrospinal fluid. And here perform that functions of this spinal cord is to and fro movements. That means from movements of body, from their movements, the information is carried from body parts to the brain, from brain to the body parts, that through the spinal cord only these are passes. And also all reflect reactions are under the control of the spinal cord, and also we have studied a reflex reaction. The involuntary reactions response to stimuli, such type of reactions are called as the reflex reactions, where they are shown in the form of a reflex arc. They are shown in the form of a reflex arc. These will be shown already. There are 5 components in reflex arcs, where the reflex arc are the structural and functional units of the reflex action. So, here 5 components. One is an skin or receptor cells, where they are called as sensory cells, and a sensory nerves, then intermediate or associated nerves, a motor nerves, as well as an effector organ, or that is organs, there are muscles or glands which are presenting, which takes a response to these organs. So, they are called, these are the 5 components which are present in a reflex arc, where they are showing in the form of a pathway. That means they are shows the pathway of a nerve transmission or a nerve association taken place, which shows in the form of an arc. So, it is called as a reflex reaction. Next, coming to the generation and a conduction of a nerve impulse. Here it is very important. Explain the generation and conduction of a nerve impulse. Why means here neurons are the neurons are an excitable. The neurons are excitable, where here it shows will having these excitable, and will here showing the polarization is taken place. Here it shows the polarization, where here it is permeable of the allowing of the ions exchanging is taken place. So, here when the nerves are excited, here the exchanging of ions are taken place. So, that exchanging, that is transmission, that is exchanging the ions which are presenting in the neurons when they are excitable. excitable, where here it shows a polarizations. That means here the polarization means when the membrane is in rest condition. When the membrane is in a rest condition, here it shows the permeable of positive ions. It shows the permeable of positive ions and impermeable of the sodium ions. Here a permeable of here the permeable of here where here it shows so here it shows this is a polarization, where here when that means when the membrane is in excitable state, or sorry, when the membrane is in a rest condition, here this condition it is called as the resting potential. It is called as the resting potential. So what is a resting potential means the electrical charge presenting across the membrane, across the plasma membrane at rest condition is called as the resting potential. So here what is an electrical potential? What is an electrical potential? What is an electrical potential? So when the when the neurons are excited, here the ion exchanging are taken place. When the ion exchange are taken place, here electrical discharge is taken place, where here it consisting of the outer surface will having positive ions and inner surface will consisting of the negatively charged ions. So this condition it is called as an electrical potential, where outer surface outside will having the positive ions and inside will consist of the negative ions. This condition it is called as an electrical potential. So here what is an electrical potential means an electrons and the neurons are excitable. In this state what happens means the positive charged ions are presenting outside the membrane, outside the exoplasm membrane, and the negative charged ions are presenting inside the membrane. So this is called as an electrical potential. So here it is where axonema will consist on outside of axonema membrane is a positively charged, will having a positively charged outside. That means it is an axonema. Here it is an axonal membrane. So when axonal membrane will having the outside will having the positively charged ions and inside will having the negatively charged ions. So this process or this condition it is called as an electrical potential. That means this charge difference is called as this charge. That means what charge means outside positive and inner side the negatively. This difference is called as an electrical potential. And here it shows the resting potential. Here it shows an resting potential. Resting potential means the electrical potential. It can be defined as the electrical. It is defined as the electrical potential across the plasma membrane, across the electrical potential, across the plasma membrane, at rest condition, at rest, then it is called as the resting potential. So here electrical potential means in axonema it is a condition where the axonema membrane will consist of outer surface will having a positively charged and inner side will having a negatively charged. This difference it is called as an electrical potential. So here, and also will having resting a potential. So when it is taken place, when this taken place, when the axonema is taken place, axonal membrane if it taken place, here in these more concentration of, it consists of the more amount of the positively charged, that is inner surface will having the inner surface will having a more positively charged and less negatively charged proteins are presenting and impermeable of the sodium and ions. So here a permeable of, here it helpful for permeable of the sodium ions and a negatively charged proteins, and they are impermeable of the sodium ions also. And when it is consequently in contrasting with the, if you see in here this is sodium ions are outside side will having the more concentration of Na plus and less amount of sodium ions and negatively charged, where they are impermeable of the negatively charged. So here subsequently what happens here, a neutralization, that means here the more amount of positive charged ions are presenting outside and negatively charged ions are presenting and inside. So this potential we can call as an electrical potential. So here consequently, that means when it is taken place, here the movement of ions will be taken place across the axonema. Here it consists of 3 sodium ions, 3 sodium plus ions outside for 2 potassium ions into the cell, That means to neutralize this, here 2 sodium plus ions are outside, 3 sodium plus ions are outside, are presenting for 2 potassium ions into the cell, for 2K plus into the cell, that will be taken place. And also here it is taken place by the 3 structure. That means here there are 3 conditions are there. One is called as a polarized state, and the second one is called as a depolarization condition, and the third one is called as a repolarization conditions. So here it shows 3 conditions. One is called as the polarization. Second one is called as depolarization, and the third one is called as the repolarization. Is called as the 3. That is the third one is repolarizations. So here what are this means? Here when there are resting potential, here it shows an action potential. It shows an action potential. So here what is action potential, or otherwise here we can say this is as a polarization also. Polarization. That means when the nerves, that means when the neurons are excited. When the neurons which are present in, that means here will having positively charged, negatively charged along with sodium and potassium ions are influx and outflux which are presenting, that will be taken place. But when you coming to the excitation, and the nerve excited across the axonema membrane, here what happens? Here it shows the firstly, here it shows an action potential. Here it shows the firstly, here it shows an action potential. So what is that action potential means? When the excited, that means when the neurons are excited. When the neurons are excited, here now coming to the conduction, that means here first if it is taken place as a resting potential, a resting potential. So here resting potential means the electrical difference presenting across the plasma membrane, that is the electrical difference presenting across the plasma membrane, resting at the plasma membrane. So it is called as a resting potential. When the resting potential is taken place here, when the nerves are excited, that means when the when the neurons are excited, when the neurons are excited, here it becomes into a polarized state or an action potential. So here when action potential, that means when it is taken place a resting potential, here it is called as a polarized state where the positively charged are presenting outside the axonema and negatively charged are present inside the axonal membranes. And here when these are excited, here what happens, here it is a change, that means the positively charged ions will most influx and negatively charged ions will most outflux. So this condition we can call as a repolarization. Here a repolarization means when the excited, that means when action potential means the electrical difference, the electrical potential difference across the membranes, across the plasma membrane of A, then it is called as an action potential. So in a textbook you will given the A means movement of the ions. So when the movements when nerves are excited in polarized state or action potential, and it is in a resting condition, here the movement outflux of the negatively charged and influx of the positively charged ions. So this condition we can call as a repolarization. Polarization means having positively charged outside and negatively charged inside. This condition we can call as a polarization, where here it is when excited, when the nerves are excited or the neurons are excited, here it takes place the depolarization. It takes place the depolarization, so that here the negatively charged ions will move outside and positively charged ions will move inside, so that here a continuous movement of outside will having a positively charged and inside will having a negatively charged ions completely will be taken place. So across the axonal membrane, then this condition it is called as a depolarization condition. It is called as a depolarization. So here polarization, depolarization and a repolarization. Polarization means positively charged are presenting outside and negatively charged are present inside, we can call as a polarization. When the nerves are excited in the form of an action potential, here the moment of action, so that means outside will having negatively charged and inside will having a positively charged ions are presenting, where here a continuous will be taken place. That means these are continuously will be taken place, then this condition is called as a depolarization. So when it is taken place here, for example, if it taken place, this is if it taken place here completely it is taken place occupied by the negatively charged and inside will consisting of a positively charged. So this condition is called as a depolarization. That means one by one a negatively charged ion will move outside and positively charged ions will move and inside conditions. So this condition we can call as a depolarization condition. Next, in repolarization. Repolarization means means again. Again, the same, that means here again the becoming to their resting potential. How their original, the action when they that means when the axon, now neurons are excited, again the neurons are excited, again they came to their original positions. They becomes to their original positions, they becomes, so such condition it is called as a repolarization condition. So that when it is taken place here positively charged, here it is taken place again, here outside will becomes positively charged and inner side will becomes negatively charged particles are produces. So here around the axonema and axonal membrane, across the axonal membrane, again the positively charged ions are presenting outside and negatively charged ions will becomes negatively charged ions will becomes inner side. So that here the electric potential will becomes same. So when they becomes same, here it is called as a resting potential, and that resting potential we can say as a repolarization condition. Repolarization means when the neurons are excited, here the movements of ions are exchanging from influx to the outflux. That means negatively charged will move outflux and positive charge will move influx. When they becomes to the up to the nerve impulse is taken place. Again when the nerve impulse are taken place, again these positively charged ions will becomes, again the positively charged will becomes outflux and the negatively charged will becomes influx. So that this condition we can call as a repolarization conditions. So these are the three aspects where it takes place in the neurons when the generation or conduction of a nerve impulse is taken place. That is, here it shows polarization, depolarization as well as a repolarization, and also here you have to mention what is a resting potential, as well as here we have to know what is electrical potential. First we have to know about the electrical potential. Here we have to know firstly the electrical potential, later here we know resting potential, later we have to know the action potentials, later the polarization, depolarization as well as repolarization conditions. So these are the aspects, these are the three conditions, that means these are the various conditions where it takes place in a generation and conduction of a nerve impulse, that is in the form of, firstly it is in the form of electric potential where negatively charged ions are presenting outside and positive charged ions are present outside and negatively charged ions are presenting inside. So this difference is called as an electrical potential. And when the electric potentials are taken place, there it shows resting. Resting means their nerves are not excited, the nerves are rest condition. So at rest condition across the plasma membrane, axonal membrane, here positively charged ions are presenting outside and negatively charged ions are presenting and inside. And when the action potential is taken place, action potential is when the nerves are excited, here the negatively charged ions are outflux and positively charged ions are influx are taken place. So this condition we can call as the polarization. When the polarization is taken place, that is when the nerves are excited, here we can call as a polarization. When this polarization, here a depolarization. Depolarization means movement of outflux of negatively charged and influx of the negatively charged ions, where such condition we can call as the depolarization condition. So here depolarization, negatively charged outside and positively charged inside continuously across the axonal membrane or plasma membrane, it is taken place up to the nerve excitation is taken place. After nerve excitation, here again the nerves are becomes into the rest condition. When rest condition, here they get their positive, that means their influx and outflux of ions will becomes to their original position, will be coming to their original position, that is positively charged ions are outside and negatively charged ions are inside, where they are becoming to their original position. These are produced, so that this process we can call as an repolarization conditions. So this is where it takes place when the nerves are excited, when the neurons are excited or nerve impulse are taken place, or we can call that as an action potential is taken place. It shows polarization, depolarization as well as an repolarization conditions. So in NCERT textbook it is given A as well as B. Here A is taken place when excited A, that means when the nerves excitation, electrical proton difference across the plasma membrane of A, then it is called as an action potential. So that here when nerves are excited, the positive here it becoming negatively charged will becomes outside and positively charged inside. So this condition we can call as an action potential. And B, again what happens, the process will be repeatedly inside, that means again here depolarization and repolarization will be taken place, that is given in the form of, in the textbook it is given in the form of A as well as B in conditions in representation that is taken place. So that this is way where you can able to easily identify when compared to taking A and B. So this is called as a generation and conduction of a nerve impulse. Next, coming to the transmission of a nerve impulse, that will be discussed. So when the repolarization is taken place, here the sodium ions are very short lived, where here it takes place stimulus, that means stimulation and induced permeability of the sodium ions are where they are very short lived in conditions, where here it helpful for the diffusing of K plus ions diffuses outside of the across the permeability of the anaxonema, where here again the process will be a continuous, will be taken place. This is where how the generation of a nerve impulse are taken place. Next, coming to the transmission of a nerve impulse. Here coming to the transmission of nerve impulse. So here the transmission, how the transmission of nerve impulse is taken place across one neuron to the another neuron, one neuron to the another neuron in the form of a synapse. In the form of a synapse, this will be taken place where here this through the synapse process, here the transmission of a nerve impulse. Already we know that that means transmission of nerve impulse is taken place from the presynaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane. Here it takes place from a presynaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane. Here it is helpful for the passing of an information from one neuron to the another neurons. This type of is taken place in the form of synapses. So here there are two type of synapses are taken place. One is called as the electrical, that is electrical synapses, electrical synapse, and the second one is the chemical synapse. So here the synapse where it takes place between a postsynaptic membrane to the presynaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane, where in between it does not having any synaptic cleft will not be presented. So here a synaptic cleft is not be presenting, but it is taken place in the form of where it is taken place in the form of a presynaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane. So, this will be taken place from presynaptic to the postsynaptic membrane. Here the synapses are of two types. One is called as electrical synapses and second one is called as the chemical synapses. Electrical synapses is a fast synapses. Here it is a fast electrical, where here it is taken place across a single an axon. Here it takes place from single an axon. Here the axon, here it takes place the synapses, the information is passes from a single an axon. The electrical synapses is taken place where here a quick synapse, that means a quick transfer of impulse are taken place. Nerve impulse, transmission of nerve impulse is very quick or fast in a condition. But these electrical synapses which are presenting, they are rarely occur in our body. These are rarely occur. These are rare occur in our body. These are rarely occur in our body. But here the mostly the synapse, the information which is taken place, that is taken place in the form of a chemical synapses. It is taken place by a chemical synapses, where here it produce the synaptic here axon terminal will produce synaptic vesicles. The synaptic vesicles will consist, they are presenting in a presynaptic membrane between presynaptic to the postsynaptic membranes. These are presenting where having synaptic vesicles. These synaptic vesicles will produce a synaptic clefts. These synaptic clefts will produce the neurotransmitters. Here they produced, the chemical synapses will produce in the form of neurotransmitters. They are produced in the form of neurotransmitters. These are produced. So, these neurotransmitters which are produced, that neurotransmitters, that means here the synaptic cleft which are produced, the synaptic vesicles will produce synaptic clefts. The synaptic clefts will produce the synaptic that are called as neurotransmitters. So, these these are called as this is neurotransmitters. This is neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters. So, here with the help of neurotransmitters that are secreted on the postsynaptic membranes, these postsynaptic membranes will consist of the receptors. The postsynaptic membranes will consist of the receptors. The receptors will receive information and passes from one neuron to the another neuron that are taken place. So, this is how the impulse are taken place in an. So, here this is that means the receptors which are presenting, they are presenting on the postsynaptic membranes. So, the information is passing from a presynaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane through the receptors. That means what are the receptors? That means neurotransmitters will secrete. These neurotransmitters are absorbed by the and received by the receptors which are present on the postsynaptic membranes. So, from these data information is passing from one neuron to the another neuron in the form of neurotransmitters, that is the chemical substances which are secreted, where here through the mainly this process is taken place in our body when compared to the an electrical synapse. I means here the information is passing from one neuron to the another neuron through the synapses, that is in the form of a chemical synapses, where they produce neurotransmitters in the form of synaptic vesicles. The synaptic vesicles, the knobs will secrete synaptic knobs. The synaptic knobs will secrete synaptic vesicles. These synaptic vesicles will secrete the neurotransmitters in between the into the synaptic clefts that are secreted in the post-synaptic, that means post-synaptic membranes will consist of the receptors are presenting through the receptor cells, through the receptors that are received, and information is passed from one neuron to the another neuron. This is how the nerve impulse is taken place in our body, that is in the form of a chemical as well as electrical. Electrical is a quick transmission, but is taken place by single axon only that are taken place, but they are rarely present in our body. But mainly the information how it is passes means in the form of a chemical, a synapses, that information is passes. This is how the transmission of a nerve impulse is taken place in our body in the form of presynaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane. Through the receptors, that information is passes through the neurons, that means neurotransmitters which are secreted in between the synaptic clefts, that received by the receptors from the receptors that are transmitted, and where the nerve impulse or transmission of a nerve impulse is taken place from one neuron to the another neuron. Now we will discuss the difference between an electrical synapse as well as the chemical synapse. So here in the receptors which are present on the postsynaptic membranes, they receive and helpful for exchanging of new ion exchanges are taken place to produce a new electrical or new potential, new impulse are taken place. These new impulse or new potential which is presenting, either it may be an excitatory or inhibitory. It may be an excitatory or it may be an inhibitory. That means the potential which is passing from postsynaptic membranes, which receives the receptors that are ion exchanging or passes to form a new potential. That new potential which is formed, it may be either excitatory or in the form of an inhibitory in nature. Through the neurotransmitters only these are transmitted, that is by the form of excitatory or an inhibitory. Now coming to the difference between the synapse, that is electrical synapse as well as the chemical synapse. So now coming to the difference between the electrical as well as the chemical synapse. So here first one, in electrical synapse, the synaptic cleft is absent. Synaptic cleft is absent, and here the synaptic cleft is present. So here synaptic cleft is present between presynaptic membrane to the postsynaptic membrane. Here a synaptic cleft is presenting, but in electrical cleft, here the synaptic cleft is an absenting. Here an electrical that will be absenting. And here second one, the neurotransmitters are absent. Here neurotransmitters are presenting. Neurotransmitters present. That means in chemical synapses, here in the presence of neurotransmitters only the information is passes from one neuron to the another neuron, but in electrical synapse, here neurotransmitters are not be presenting. Through the directly the information is passes from one neuron to the another neuron, and it is very fast in conditions. And the third one, if you see in here, the third, rare occurs in our body. Rarely occurs in our body. Rarely occurs in our body. It is commonly occurs commonly occurs in our body. So these are that means here the electrical synapse is rarely present in our body. That is the quick transmission. It is very quick transmission. But the neurochemical synapse is taken place commonly. That is commonly present in our body. Why means here through the chemical synapses only the information is passes from one neuron to the another neuron. So it is commonly present in our body. So these are the differences between the electrical as well as chemical synapse. One is synaptic-less is absent. Here in chemical it is presenting. Neurotransmitters are absent in electrical and neurotransmitters are present in chemical. And here rarely occurs in our body. That is electrical electrical synapses occurs rarely in our body, but these are commonly occurs in our body. These are the differences between the electrical as well as chemical synapses. So this is the topic of that is neural control and coordination. Why means here in our syllabus we are not having the sense organs. That is eye and ear is not be presenting, so that we are not able to discuss that topic. So this is we have discussed what is the central nervous system, what is neuron. In nervous system we have studied the neuron, about the parts of the central nervous system, peripheral, it is somatic as well as autonomous, and also here it consists of that is here we are having we studied the structure of the brain as well as the spinal cord, reflex action, and lastly we have studied the generation and conduction of nerve impulse, and lastly the transmission of a nerve impulse, and lastly we have discussed the difference between the electrical as well as chemical synapses. So this is the topic of a nervous system. Thank you.